So, Frank, I'm curious, you've gotten our first electric truck, right?
Yes.
So what's it like driving? Like when you show up at the ports, what's the other drivers' reactions?
It's quite interesting. It's actually, the first time out is like an honor to be behind the wheel of it and feel the engineering going into, the power. It has great power. You get on there and it's so quiet. That's the first thing that was hard thing. It being so quiet and you get in and you tap the accelerator and it's like, this feels different.
Is it on?
But it feels good, So, yeah, it was a great experience. And then going into the port, you go in, the first thing you do is you pull up to security to show your ID and your TWIC card. And a lot of times the security will look at you like there's something wrong. And the first young lady that I pulled up to and showed her this, she's like, "You need to turn your truck on." I said, "It's running." She said, and then she looked, she says, "Oh, wow." And she wanted to stop and get out of her booth, and she ran around to the front of it. She came back around to the other side. She said, "Oh, go ahead. You're holding up traffic now." I said, "I'm not holding up traffic." But it's quite interesting because then the next phase you go to is a kiosk, and you pull up to it, and where traditionally you turn your vehicle off so that you can communicate.
Right.
You don't have to do that. It can continue to run, whether you need heat or air, it's still running. So there's some things that you have to use caution on, and remembering that your vehicle is running, setting your brakes, making sure before you take off that no one's around or walking. So there are definitely security features for the vehicle that the driver has to take the initiative to run with. And a lot of times now it's kind of tapping the horn before you move.
Yeah.
So that's very, very interesting.
That's something I didn't think about, that you can't hear it. And so how if I'm passing by, you hear the big giant truck, but at your truck, we wouldn't be able to hear it. So I wouldn't even know if I'm walking in front of you that you were ready to go.
Yeah.
Right. It does make a sound once you initiate from neutral to drive. You'll hear the rev that starts to come as the propulsion starts. But still, it's once you tap that accelerator, it's not like traditionally where you step on it and let's go. It's an ease into it because once you do it, you feel the thrust.
Oh.
Yeah, it's funny. Some of the manufacturers have even debated having a noisemaker on the truck, whether this beeping or a whirring or some sort of noise to let people know that the truck is running and it might run you over if you don't move.
Yeah, I about got hit by a Tesla in Walmart parking lot, and the only thing that saved me was kind of the gravel was stuck in the tire, and I heard the rock on the pavement. It would have flat run me over.
Well, that Tesla would have stopped.
No, I would have been just
Doesn't
gone.
it? Isn't it one? Aren't they have the brake where it just stops?
Some of them do.
So
This must have
Actually,
a
for
malfunction.
trust it.
Will, it wouldn't have. It'd have hit him.
Oh, they
It would've
hacked
hit him
into the
guaranteed.
system over here.
Me, it would have stopped you. No,
They
it'd have
kept
ran you
going.
right over and probably back up.
Will would have changed a few things
Right.
for us.
Hey, so I want to ask you this one question here, okay? I'm sorry, Dave, you have to hear this. So
Uh-oh.
being a dude from Tennessee, you get in something like that, you always see these drag races, these electric cars, like on TV. Have you ever been at a red light and you kind of look over at another trucking, at another trucking company, and you know that dude's wanting to race you in that day cab, and you just kind of give him that nod like it's on, bro, and you take off and just because we heard these things will just squeal the tires, man. Have you ever done that?
Well, that's quite interesting. You would go there.
Right.
We do get strange looks though from other drivers.
Do they want to race you?
Some want to.
Do you?
But you ease off of that. That's where you kind of go, you know what? There's
Good
some
answer,
pride
Frank.
here.
Good answer.
We don't need to do that. Why would we go there?
Hey, hold on, let me
we
back
wanna
it
be
up.
like Will and get out there burning rubber like he's down in Tennessee, lost somewhere.
Will could never have this truck.
No.
If he wasn't sitting beside you, I mean, would my wink give it away like you'd want to race
Actually,
somebody?
I think if Dave was driving, he'd probably be the one to race. He
You know
has
who-
that
you know-
quiet demeanor right
So
now.
I'll tell you this. So I have driven the trucks, okay, and fortunately for me, the opportunity I got to drive the trucks was on a racetrack. It literally was.
See.
Oh,
It was on a
that's
it was on an
awesome.
oval track, and it was actually part of it was an F1 track, and so there was some turns. And just to back up what Frank said, I mean the things that grabbed me driving it were one, it's quiet, right? And so there's a lot of noises in the truck that you didn't realize were there
Right.
before because
Right.
the engine covers it up.
So
I
quiet.
mean, little squeaks and squirrels, and you're kind of like looking around the truck going, is this thing going to fall apart? But really, they've been there all along. You just couldn't hear them. But that's really strange to me. But the torque is amazing.
That's why I brought that up.
It's fast. No, and I had a trailer, I had a 53-foot trailer I was driving, and we were loaded to about 72,000 pounds.
Wow.
And I took off like a rocket.
Even with the weight on.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
It
no,
didn't even know
no.
it had it back there.
The torque is unbelievable. So in a diesel truck, you're talking about 1,700 foot-pounds of torque, right? And it's delayed because you got a combustion engine that has to spin up and get everything going and kind of warm up. With electric, the torque is multiples of that, and it's instant. And so you almost have to be careful because if you stomp on it too much, you'll load
Right.
shift. Right?
Definitely,
So that's why
definitely.
Frank's being very, good and not not going. But here's the other thing, and maybe Frank can comment on this that I noticed as I was going around the oval track with a diesel truck. When you're going around a turn, you got a lot of cab roll. Okay, because it's shifting gears, it's doing things. You just feel a lot of things moving around, and when you're turning around a corner, you got a lot of centrifugal force that's pulling you. With an electric truck, the interesting thing is because the batteries are sitting really low, the center of gravity changes,
Oh.
and so you've got a real stable truck. And so what I noticed was going around the corner, I got a little too confident. and I was taking the corner a little too fast. In fact, my safety driver that was with me, kept tapping, saying, hey, you might want to slow down, go around the corner. But it felt good going around the corner. Right. The problem is you get this false sense of security, and you could have a rollover when the other indicators with a diesel truck maybe aren't there. So that was kind of interesting for me.
No, that's a good point, Dave, because one thing you do feel with the center of gravity being much lower, when you do get a load on, and you start to take off, for instance, some of the entrances, for instance, we're right at the 710. You can feel the tractors wanting to do one thing and the trailers wanting to do something else. So it regenerates that information to the driver, or it should, that, hey, I need to ease up and I need to pay attention to what's going on because that can change very quickly if you don't.
And not that I recommend it, but if a diesel truck ever pulled up next to you, not even close, you could roast them.
We do not encourage
But you
racing
don't
for
wanna
pink
do that,
slips.
okay?
Yes.
You don't want to do that.
Cargo claims, problems, not good.
I guess I should have asked Frank if the trailer was empty. Would he do it? Yeah, not with cargo.
Let's just move on.
How are we going to put him on the spot?
Next question.
Thank you for watching that clip. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more clips like that, please click here.
Or if you'd like to check out a full episode, click here.
And don't forget to subscribe to us on
YouTube.